everyone. I'm Romi Mukherjee, your host for today's session. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for joining us for another educational exploration brought to you by Goyal Brothers Prakashan. Today, we are delving into the realm of literacy foundation with our esteemed speaker, Ms. Shweta Gupta. Our speaker is more than just an educator. She is a tech enthusiast and a language and communication expert, and also a curriculum designer with an impressive 25 years of experience. She is not only passionate about transforming classrooms into engaging and productive learning spaces, but also about instilling a sense of joy in the learning process. Ma'am, we are eager to absorb the wisdom you are about to share on building a strong foundation for literacy. All over to you.
Thank you so much, Romy, for such a warm welcome. And I welcome all the participants who have taken time because I know these are vacation time and you must be all, roaming or having vacation with your family. So all those who have taken time and come here for this, attending this webinar, we are actually very thankful. And we understand that we are like-minded people because we are on a path of learning. So before taking any more time, I'll start the session for today. Let me just share my screen. Romy, my screen is visible. Can you please confirm? Wonderful. I've got some chat box responses that it is visible. Thank you. And I'm probably audible as well. So please write in the chat box ANV, audible and visible. Just write in the chat box ANV, audible and visible. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Namita, Vidya. Thank you. Can I request all of you to be like on mute? Wonderful. So the topic for today is from sounds to stories. What do you understand by sound to story? What this title of the workshop means to you? I expect answers in the chat box. Very good evening, Shanta. What have you understood from the topic? From sounds to stories. Yes, I want participation from the audience. Very good evening, Rohini. It gives energy to students. Okay. So my question to all the participants is, what do you understand by sounds to stories? Different sounds, okay, from imagining the characters. Okay. Simple to complex. Urmila, can you please elaborate? You are approaching there. What is simple to complex in the context of foundational literacy? Okay, so let me get into that. Pleasant auditory skills. Okay, so we'll understand what we are going to know today. So we'll first understand how what kind of functioning our brain does when we are reading. So this whole module is primarily for reading. How to train our children from K to 2 on reading. How to build that skill of reading. Since you understand that NCF is talking about competency based education and skill based education, excuse me. So this is primarily for building the skill of reading. And skill of reading is not only limited to English. It is also all concepts which we are going to talk about will work in Hindi or any other language as well. But today we are going to take example of English. Here and there, I will try to give an example of Hindi also. If a child understands to learn reading, he can read in EVS, he can read in science, SST, so he becomes a proficient reader. So this is not subject specific, though we are going to talk about English primarily, because we study every subject in English except Hindi. So how does our brain work? What are the different models of reading? We'll put a lot of emphasis on this. Typical reading development. What happens in pre-K years? What are the different reading comprehension strategies? And what are you ready for? What will you do? What are your takeaways from this 1 hour or 1.5 hours that you're going to spend with us? So again, welcoming you all. What happens when we start reading? So when we read, our brains transform the shapes of letters and characters on a page. I'm talking about reading because the first acknowledgement of language happens in the oral form. So when a child is born, he listens to the language in oral form. But when he is introduced to print, either in the form of books or in the form of some, sheets or something, he then get acquainted with that's called print awareness. So we are talking about reading. So reading will only happen when it is in the print form. So what happens when we read? Our brain transforms the shapes of letters and characters on a page into the sounds of spoken language. That's what is happening. Even when I'm reading this paragraph, this is what is happening. I'm reading, and there are sounds which is of a particular language. So I want all of you to read this. How many of you can read this? This is in a very familiar language, the same language we are conversing right now. So I can give you a clue that this is in English. Can any one of you read? I'm giving you the clue that this is in English. This is so simple. It is in English. Why can't you read? Why can't you read properly? This is how, oh, last word is XYZ. Fine, AFH. So do you have any reasoning behind calling it AFH? Or is it just like a simple guess? No reasoning. This is not possible for you to read, though this sentence is in English, because you don't know these symbols. So what are these symbols for? Let's check out. So now can you decode it? I've given you the coded structure. What does this character means? You have to go back here. This is the coding scheme you have to make out. And for your information, this is from right to left, not from left to right. Now let's see how many of you can decode. You have 2 minutes. Can you decode? Can you decode it now? Say if I look at the first character on the rightmost side, the same character I can find in somewhere in K. So this is K. This is a clue I'm giving. Second character. No, it's not cat, dear. Just try decoding. Kit. Perfect. Vidya. Very nice. Super. So first letter is kit. Now go back to the next letter. What is the next letter? Kitran. Very nice. Yes, I'm waiting for the next letter. The third one. Kitran and. Perfect and is correct. The last one. And hid. Beautiful, Nupur. Very nice. So when you were decoding this, while you were decoding this, initially you were not able to read. When I showed you the screen, the first screen, sorry, you were not able to read because you were not aware of the schema. Now here, when I have given you the schema, now you can read and you can know which letter it is. Okay. So now when I was going here and I decoded this is, I know what is this letter? A. So I know when this comes again, this is A. So that means my brain has made some connections with the decoding. So the first point which our brain does while reading is to decode. So that is the reason when we have familiar words, we'll read it very quickly. But when we get unfamiliar words, we take some time to read it. We'll try to put in our previous knowledge into reading it. Fine? So this is the first step. The second step will be, just read this paragraph. England's openers labored 34 balls before scoring their first boundary as Strauss cracked 2 fours through the leg side. Cook made a patient start before motoring past his skipper. Now, if you don't know anything about the game of cricket, you can read because you understand the decoding part. But I don't know what does leg side means. I don't know who's a skipper. Okay, who's cook? I'll take him as the cook who cooks. Fine. So the next point, which is very, very important, I know the code, but I also need to know the vocabulary and the background knowledge. So I need to know the vocabulary, who's a skipper, with whom it is associated, what is the meaning of leg side, what is the meaning of cracked, where all can I use cracked. So that is point number 2. So there are 2 things which are happening. One, your brain is decoding while you are reading, while you are able to say it properly. Then the next step will be going into vocabulary so that you understand the meaning of the words and there's some background knowledge associated with it. I'll go back to my previous screen. And if you can see here, I have not written K, but there are 2 symbols associated. Can any one of you tell me what are these symbols? Why I have not only written wonderful sound, Divya, what is that known as? What sound is it's called? Why Divya is saying sound? Phonemes? Wonderful. Linguistic? Not linguistic. It's this all is a subset of linguistic. So linguistic is a very broad term. Yes, these are phonemes. These are letter sounds. So we need to first be aware of the letter sounds, which is known as a part of phonics, which is a part of phonics. That is why this is the symbol of a sound. So when I say this is k, sound k. So this can be C also. This is not necessarily K. This can be C also. Why? Because K sound is produced by C as well as K. But again, there's a rule because I am having E sound next. So I cannot have C over here. We'll talk about spelling rules a little later. I hope these 2 points are clear. That first, there are symbols and there is a sound associated with that symbol. Once you know the symbol and the sounds, next step is you move towards understanding the words, building your vocabulary, understanding what does that mean. So while I'm reading, each time you learn a new connection is wired. So there's something happening within the neurons. Scientists have recently begun to understand how that works. It somehow works like building a muscle. So you must have heard of this term muscle memory. So for words also, for reading also, and for comprehension also, there is a muscle memory. So can you read this? quickly. There are two statements. Are you able to read them? Manisha ma'am said yes. Is there something wrong with these two statements? What is that? What's wrong with these two statements? Or they're perfectly fine? So if they're wrong, write what is wrong. Okay, order of spellings, letters are jumbled, they're not following the style, the sentence structure. But still you were able to read. What was happening? So every time I'm not comprehending the symbols. So my brain has created that muscle memory in my that neurons has made those muscle memory in the cortex, and while I'm reading, I'm not reading the spellings. So you can read sentences in which the letters of every word have been mixed up except for the first and the last letters. So I can read it very nicely. Still the spellings are not correct. So this you attain after the proficiency. So I request not to annotate. Let me clear the annotation. Great. Okay. So now you understand what is happening in brain. Now we'll move forward. Now this research lead to the development of various models how children learn to read. We are talking specifically from K to 2. So kindergartners to grade 2. But the things which I'm going to talk about make sense for preparatory school as well. So there are few models which expand our understanding on how children become skilled readers. See, for some children, reading is like a cakewalk. They can do it effortlessly. But for some others, it's a challenge. They're not able to read, and you must have faced this in your classrooms. So what is going to work? How we should teach them? So there's a model given by these two gentlemen, Philip Kaug and William Turnmer. In 1986, they have come up with a model called simple view of reading. Though this simple view of reading is not that simple. So they've come up with this. It is in short known as SVR. It's a complex combination of skills that results in reading. So though the name is not synchronous with what it is talking about, still it is known as SVR, and it is the most accepted model as till date. So let's see what it is. So it talks about a skill called decoding, the same way we have done, into language comprehension, which results into reading comprehension or reading with meaning. So simple view of reading is the most accepted model. It's like, what must happen what must be done to comprehend the print. So kindergarten we start with the decoding skills, and that includes the alphabet and the letter name and the letter sound. So I hope this is clear. We'll get back to this slide later. Basically, it is talking about that if decoding is poor, a child will not be able to comprehend, and thereby, so 0 into 1 will make it 0. If a child is able to decode, but the language comprehension, I can read, but I cannot make sense of the word. Again, my reading comprehension is 0. So for a good reader to understand, to read in fluency, as well as to understand what does it mean, what does the word mean, I have to be proficient with the decoding part as well as the language comprehension part. So we'll talk about what are the skills included when we talk about decoding. So decoding includes accurate and quick letter name and letter sound knowledge. So if I may ask, how many letters do we have in English? quickly? How many letters? Can I have response? 26, 26. And how many sounds? How many sounds? 44. Perfect. Very nice. How many of you were not aware of 44 sounds? Those who have heard this for the very first time, I'm very happy to see that people are aware of 44 sounds. So 26 letters making 44 sounds. What about Hindi? What about Hindi? How many letters? How many letters? 52. And how many sounds? Sounds are? Please write sounds are that much. 13, 13. Okay. Only 13 sounds. Somebody is writing 52. If they're talking about the letters and the sounds, they're correct. Because in Hindi, we have, don't confuse it with swar. No, 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 not 77. So very proudly, I would like to say that Hindi is almost 100% phonetic language. So I'll just write a letter. Let me annotate. Okay, so if I write this, change the color. How can I change the color? Yeah, so I'm writing this. So this is K. This is one sound. If I say Ka, this is another sound. So whatever is the letter written, there are 52 letters and there are 52 sounds. So if I say K, M, L, so these are individual sounds. The problem in Hindi and also the problem in English is if I write, this is C, but the sound is K. This is A and the sound is A. This is T and the sound is T. So it becomes cat, not CAT. But in Hindi, if I say K, I'll be sounding K. So Kamal, Kamal. Right, somebody has raised hands. Any question? Any question? Okay, so I'll carry on. I'm not getting any question there. So accurate and quick letter name and their letter sound knowledge. Phonological and phonemic awareness. We'll talk about this. Phonics and decoding skills. Phonics is the same, like you understand the letter name and the letter sound. And there are other skills which are known as blending, segmenting, understanding of tricky words. In Hindi, if I take Indian languages, not even Hindi, though I don't know many languages, but I have talked to experts and they said the letter and the sounds are same. So if in Hindi I'm writing p, it's p. But in English, if I'm writing P, sometimes it will sound P, sometimes it will sound F. So, for example, photo. So, there is difference. So, I need to understand how they are, what kind of sound unit they are, and how they are blending together. And there are few words which are not following the rules of phonics. They are known as special words or tricky words. So child has to build a knowledge of all the letter sounds, all the 44 letter sounds and the commonly used special words throughout his kindergarten. So that the child can attain in grade 1 and 2 the fluency of reading. Fine. So those some of the words which are very common are also known as high frequency words. So automatic recognition of common high frequency words. This automatic recognition led you to read the words which I have just shown, which were shuffled or they were having wrong spellings. and the ability to read common phonetically irregular words. Irregular words means the same words which are not following the rules of phonics. So once I have the decoding skills, this left column is for decoding skills and the right column is for the language comprehension. So for language comprehension, I should be having my vocabulary knowledge, a bit of background knowledge, a syntactic comprehension, how a sentence is written, and understanding of figurative knowledge like metaphors, similes, idioms, all these things. So we'll quickly talk about both the skills. This is a very broad topic. I'll try to touch upon a sequence, how you should be teaching and how a child should be learning reading. There, I'll be giving you few takeaways. There are a few strategies which you can apply in your classrooms. So let us understand the kind of expertise a child should be involving. This is a small child, maybe of a nursery or a LKG. So decoding, the child should be able to decode. So if I have written letter A, whether mama letter A or baby letter A, the child should be able to recognize this as letter A, making a sound A. So he should be aware of the grapheme. How does it look like? So letter recognition and letter sound association. What are different sounds? So once we talk about A to Z, we have 26 letters and 26 sounds. When we move forward from here, we'll again talk about 26 letters and 44 sounds. So a child grows a little bit. He should be able to decode, have fluency in the language and a little bit of language comprehension. This segmentation is still kindergarten. This is a child of grade 1 and 2, which is the newly added level to foundational classes. Here the child should be able to have decoding skills, fluency, as well as reading comprehension. That means he should be able to make sense of the words. Now, can any one of you tell me the difference between language comprehension and reading comprehension? Sorry. What possibly could be the difference between language comprehension and reading comprehension? Any clue? I want all of you to kindly participate. Any clue? What is LC and what is the difference between LC and RC? So when I tell a child oral language comprehension, very good, ma'am. Very good. Very nice. The text I read and understand. Yes. So language comprehension can be oral also. It can be written also. But when I'm talking about reading comprehension, it is primarily written. Yes, very true. It is written language, printed form. So language comprehension, when a child is born and he understands that there's a door, there's a table, there's a bottle, that's all language comprehension. He understands the meaning of these words. He might not understand what is the spelling of bottle, how B-O-T-T-L-E is written, but he understands what's a bottle. That is language comprehension. When language comprehension meets with decoding, it creates reading comprehension, which is like reading the text. It is in the printed form. So that should be the stages. If I talk about decoding, so one is oral language, we've already talked about it. Then the print awareness, how the letters are written. No, letter recognition. That is what is print awareness. Then the alphabet knowledge, these are the letters and these are the sounds. Then phonological and phonemic awareness. Let's check few of them. We're not talking about oral and print awareness. We're talking about from the phonics point of view. So the first skill is letter recognition and letter sound association. So if I say, let me just write. If I say rat, so how many sounds do you hear? How many sounds? Two? Nupur is saying two. Mrs. Khan is saying three, three, three. So it's r, a, t. So there are three sounds that we hear. And how many graphemes, the physical letters you can see? One unit, the way we write the sound. So there are three graphemes. Grapheme is the print letter, you can say. So r, a, t. How a sound is written, that is a grapheme. So we have here three sounds and three graphemes. If I write, how many sounds are there? How many sounds in this word? Cock. Three sounds, k, o, k. And how many graphemes? How many graphemes? Again, three. Because this is one k, o, and this is another grapheme, k. Because C and K, they're coming together, but they're making one sound. And if you look at the definition of a grapheme is the way we write a phoneme. And a phoneme is the smallest sound, unit of sound in a word. So this, how am I going to write? K, O, and then K. So this is one grapheme. That means if I have 26 letters, there are 44 sounds, but how many graphemes are they going to have? How many graphemes? Any clue? 26 letters, 44 sounds. How many graphemes? So first we'll understand what are different sounds. Quickly, I'll go through them. I'll not go in detail. So we have basic consonant sounds. Fine. Q is not included in this because Q always make a sound with U. It makes qua, which is a digraph. So we take it in a digraph. Qua. Then we have R control vowels where we have A, O, A also. Then we have short vowel sounds. We have long vowel sounds. Short vowel sounds are the basic sounds. A, E, O, A. And long vowel sounds are the name of the letter. So it is A, E, I, O, U, O. Fine. O can be treated as a short vowel sound or then O is treated as a long vowel sound. So why I'm saying E, let's take an example of E. It's feet, been, these, be, candy, E. So if now you can, apply the knowledge that we have gained here, I have same phoneme, E, but I have different grapheme. So double E is also making a sound E. EA is also making a sound E. Vowel consonant vowel, ESE is also making a sound E. Single E at the end is also making a sound E, and Y at the end is also making a E sound. So the graphemes are different, sounds are same. So we have more than 44 graphemes. Digraphs are those where two letters come together and make a new sound, as in ch, sh, th, as in thing, and the as in this, when, and unk. Diphthongs are same as digraph. Two letters are coming together, but they're making a sound which has reflection of both the letters. So it's like oi, Oi has a reflection of O as well as I. It comes oi, ow, oo, aw, and zh. So these are the 44 sounds. There might be variation because there are various organizations which are talking about sounds. So there might be variation in, sounds and where they keep it, where they identify it. But there are basically 44 sounds. So we have 44 sounds making approximately 250 combinations. So there may be 250 graphemes. Fine. So the representation of each sound is a grapheme. So English has around 250 graphemes. So I've written one statement. She ate 18 grapes today. So which sound is being repeated? She ate 18 grapes ate today. A. Perfect. AE sound. Fine. So she ate 18 grapes today. So this will be having different graphemes. This is just an example. There are innumerable examples for this. We have just seen in the previous chart as well. So now I understand the concept of phonemes and graphemes is clear. So once a child understands what is a phoneme and what is a grapheme, we'll move forward towards phonological and phonemic awareness, how they are different. So we understand different alliterations, different rhyming words that we teach in our kindergarten. Fine. Then we talk about syllabification. Now, what is syllabification? Whenever there's a vowel in between, it gives a break. Say, I say chair, chair. So there is a break. So these breaks divide the word into 2, 3, 4, 5 in different parts. So for example, the man, rat, bat, all these are monosyllabic words. If I say chair, that's a two-syllabic word. If I say exercise, exercise, that is three-syllabic word. Fine. So a child understands syllabification. Why this is important, I'll give an example after this. Onset and rhyme level. Now, onset is the consonant before the first vowel, and a rhyme is the first vowel and the rest of the word, the rest of the letters. Fine. Then phonemic awareness talks about how many sounds that we hear, that we have just done. No, how many sounds do we hear in man, rat, cat, bat? So we talk about the number of sounds. So each component of sound should be clear in a word. Not 44, dear. We are talking about in a word. So phonemic awareness is whenever we are saying anything, how many sounds can we hear? I want to give an example over here before I move to this. I'll say a word. Sorry. So you have to tell me, am I saying it rightly? So the word is academic. Academic. We all belongs to academic fraternity. So am I saying it correctly? Academic? No. Okay. So can you tell me how to say it correctly? Rashi is saying yes. Guma and Romi, can you please unmute for a while? Can you give them access to speak? Are you there? Yes, so somewhere I'm getting academic. Academic, wonderful. Very nice. So academic is the correct pronunciation. Now why? How can we make the child understand as per the syllable? So academic. That's how the child will understand how to break the word. Fine? So that is why syllabification is very, very important. This is one of the benefits of syllabification. There are other benefits as well. So let's move forward. Now my child has the understanding of all the basic symbols, all the sounds associated with it. He understands, he can recognize the sound and the grapheme and the phoneme of it. Next is the words which I cannot decode. For example, there's a word. This is the word. I. Why it is non-decodable? Because the sound is E. But when I see an I, only I have to call it I. This is no, but if I do it by phonic knowledge, it will be o. So it will be no, but I say it no. So whenever a word do not follow the rules of phonics, it becomes a tricky word or a special word. And it has to be memorized. Okay, though there are various games for memorizing these words, but we have to build a knowledge slowly and gradually. Say, for example, if they're in lower KG, they should be aware of these and some of the common words, me, we, and all. Then when they move to senior KG, they'll be aware of a little difficult words, which are tricky words or special words. So we started with basic symbol in kindergarten. We taught them the sound. We taught them various combinations. We then move forward towards non-decodable words where they can understand by looking at the word, they know how they sound. Fine. So now I am getting proficient in the first part of SVR, which is decoding. I want all of you to watch a video. Just give me a thumbs up if the sound of the video is there.
Today's book we're going to read is titled We Can Fix. And if you look, all of the friends on the cover
Wonderful.
have a
Thank you.
tool
So I'll run
that
it
they're going
again.
to use to fix something.
Yeah.
Today's book we're going to read is titled We Can Fix. And if you look, all of the friends on the cover have a tool that they're going to use to fix something. Let's go ahead and turn to the first page. Here is a man on the cover using a hammer to fix a piece of furniture. Let's see and tap read what he's going to fix. I can fix a bed. Tap, tap, tap.
Can someone tell me here which are the words which are tricky words here? Which words are tricky words here? Which are non-decodable words? I. Apart from I, all the words are decodable. Can is a decodable word. A, perfect. A is also a non-decodable word. It's a special word. Because when it comes alone, it either makes a sound, we say it A, so I can fix a bed, but usually we say I can fix a bed, so it makes a sound A. Fine?
Very good reading. Now can you point to the popcorn words? Here's the word I can A. On this first page, you see a text pattern that's going to be on every single page. The text pattern you're going to see is the word I can fix A. And then the last.
The teacher here, this is ideal for an LKG child. An LKG child, if he is aware of the sounds, he can very easily read it. Fine. And now, if you have seen, I'm not going to run this because it's a 6 minutes video. What I'm trying to emphasize is the teacher is talking about patterns. The teacher is explaining the illustration. The teacher is giving more language comprehension to the child because she is talking about furniture. She's talking about hammer. So this is how a child will gain curiosity in reading, because the child is able to comprehend what is written, is able to make sense of the picture or the illustration which is there. So next comes language comprehension. So language comprehension, as you've already told me, it's like when we understand, it's not necessary that we read it. So we need to have fluency, we need to understand it, so we need to develop vocabulary, we need to know the spelling, because we need to finally migrate to reading comprehension. That would lead to my reading comprehension. How am I making sense of what is written? So we'll quickly see the fluency part. Fluency is the ability to read a text accurately, quickly, and with expression. So I can read a text, but I'm not reading accurately. For example, for a very long time, we've been saying academics, which was, maybe we considered it correct, and there are many words like this which we speak in a wrong pattern. So we need to understand what is the correct phonetic pronunciation of a word, and we need to read it quickly. If you see, if somebody known to you must have attempted any competitive exam after grade 12, they have to attempt a reading comprehension section, where the reading speed is very important, comprehension is very important. There you get questions on inferences, on factual questions, as well as inferential questions, main idea, central theme questions. So how the foundation is here in kindergarten, not after 12th, that you do a course of 6 months or 1 year and then you understand how things work. So we can build that foundation here. That's why this level is also known as foundation. So fluent reading builds stamina for reading lengthy or complex text, and reading fluency serves as a bridge between word recognition and comprehension. So now I have understood the word, now I'm building a bridge to reading comprehension via language comprehension. So let's see a quick video, what it should look like.
What does a fluent reader in kindergarten look like? At this age, kids might sound a little like robots when they read, but that's okay, as long as they're reading most of the words on the page correctly and starting to use simple punctuation, like pausing for commas or stopping at periods.
What butterflies do? Butterflies drink nectar from flowers. Butterflies have long mouths that work like straws.
Sometimes kids read right through the punctuation marks, but with a little reminder, they can reread the sentence correctly.
What do we call this mark right here?
Period.
What does it mean?
That you stop.
The author is telling us to stop right there. So try that again.
The pollen helps new flowers grow. More butterflies bring more flowers.
So how do you know if your child's on track? Well, come summer, a fluent kindergartner should be able to read simple words accurately and pay attention to those.
Sorry for this.
Read simple words accurately and pay attention to those periods and commas.
So these are the two skills that we are going to develop in our kindergartners. When they move to grade 1 and grade 2, I just want you to see this quickly. These are short videos. I'll just cut short.
Fluency means reading the words and punctuation more smoothly and at a natural speed. It should sound more like normal
This is
speech,
for grade 1.
normal first grade speech, with a few pauses and not too fast.
George Washington Carver was smart and he was kind. He used what he learned to help people have better lives. The mice are not always...
So what to look for by the end of the year? Read words correctly and somewhat smoothly. And they can read at a natural speed, which means not too fast to get in the way of understanding.
So this is the skill we are going to develop in grade 1 and then the grade 2. Let us
What
quickly.
reader look like? with a little expression and at a speed that doesn't get in the way of understanding what they read.
Now see the
At the
difference.
edge of the sidewalk beside an old tire, a yellow daffodil grew. Anne reached out to gently touch its soft petals. You are beautiful, Anne said.
They say you're
It's a shame you
beautiful.
have to live here all alone.
It might sound smooth, but checking for understanding is still important.
So do we know what a daffodil is?
I'm guessing a flower.
Who are the characters?
Anne,
Okay, and where is she?
she's at the lot in Carson Street.
So is your second grader on track? By year's end, a kid who reads fluently can read smoothly, can read with expression, and can read at a natural speed that doesn't get in the way of understanding.
And the teacher has already started building comprehension. So she's asking questions, she's introducing her to the vocabulary, she's trying to understand, to gauge whether the child is understanding the text as well or the child is just reading fluently. So these are the skills we are going to build, and this is not overnight that a child is introduced to a book and the child will start reading it fluently. It takes time to build these skills. The next skill, very, very important, is vocabulary. And I think this is the most challenging skill because there are so many words that we read but we don't understand or we tend to forget. Fine, we don't remember all the words, and sometimes it happens with me as well because we've not been taught this way. We have rote memorized the words, because of which we might tend to forget the words. We have, learned so many words over a period of our life, but we don't remember. Now, what is the trick? How can children develop their vocabulary? So there are some games, playing oral and written word games. We can give context clues to determine the meaning of the words. One of the skill which is very, very important is teaching vocabulary words before they read the text. Engaging those words in the conversation, the daily conversations that you have taught, and giving them the opportunities to encounter target vocabulary words beyond the context in which they are taught. So if I make you understand there's a word which I have introduced in my class, I have to play a game to make them understand the word, give them context clues, and we'll see the examples. And then before diving into reading practice, I need to introduce some of the words so that they're not distracted. They are aware what does that word mean. So let's see. Okay, so if I give you a word snug, there's a word snug. Before we do this activity, what does this word snug means to you? Can you please check what is snug means? Can you please comment in the chat box? What is the meaning of word snug? Comfortable, okay. Comfortable, cozy, perfect. What else? Is there any other word associated with it? Warm, okay. Warm and comfortable. Now, can you tell me anything which makes you this comfortable? Cozy and comfortable? Anything in your life? A coffee, a cuddle, mother's lap, a blanket. Yes, the winters are on, at least in Delhi. A hug, beautiful. So now you are giving a context. I'm talking about a word, you are giving a context to it. So when I teach a word, I will ask the children how this word is attached to you in your real life. So I'm talking about the context in the everyday situation, giving a context to the word, and we are going beyond the text. So these are some of the activities which you can do. This is my personal favorite. So do you remember those days before reading the chapter, there were 4, 5, words, and we used to write the word meanings and then they are forgotten. So this is kind of a notebook, cutout, which we can do. We can write all the words, what they mean here. Then if this is the extension, the second part is the extension. This is the word. This is the meaning. When I open the flap, I can talk about the part of speech. Maybe grade 1 and 2 may not be proficient with part of speech, but simple words they can identify. Suppose you have taught noun by then. So you can ask them whether it is a noun or is it a verb or is it a preposition. The simple things which the grammar part which you are teaching. So actually it's like a revision for the grammar. We are giving a context to the grammar as well. Then in the third part, what does this word have, the connection that you have with this word in your life? Like I ask you, what makes you, cozy and comfortable? Then you can make a sentence of that word. So it's a process that they go through. Now this word, they'll never forget because they have understood which part of speech it is. How am I going to use this word? Okay, how this word is associated in my life. So this is a way, a process by which they will understand the word. There could be another format like this. So you can have a word and you can draw that word. So if a blanket makes me snug, I feel like snugging a blanket, I can draw my blanket. I can draw my mother, me sitting in her lap. Okay, I may not be very good with drawing, but I can draw, by which you can make sense and by which I can remember. So every child will have their own drawing invented. Then any example, any context, this goes for grade 2 and grade 3 as well. So you can have these activities for the words. Spend some time with vocabulary words. Don't rush with the stories. The stories have a specific purpose, specific learning objective. The child is not supposed to read the story, do the question answers in the notebook only. That's not the sole purpose of introducing a child to the world of stories. Can you see gradually we are moving from sounds to stories now? So these are some for senior children. So you can talk about synonyms and antonyms. They can draw synonyms and antonyms. So tasty and delicious, low and high. So they can draw. Now, drawing is extremely important because we tend to learn more by visibly seeing the things. That is very, very important. And again, the concept of, multiple intelligence is coming. They're listening to the word, they're drawing also, they're associating with some things. So a child may not listen to it carefully, but the child will be able to associate with the word once they draw it. Fine. I'll talk about these root words. Before that, I want to talk about context clues. So there's a word, there's a definition by which the context is, clear. Say Mr. Fry is an affable principal. He's pleasantly easy to approach and always friendly. So the child understand what does affable means. Now, what is the synonym? Kind. So synonym, again, we are using it in a sentence. Mr. Fry is quite affable. In fact, he reminds me of Miss Baker. Do you remember how kind she was? Again, I can have an antonym statement. I miss Mr. Fry. Our new principal is cranky and unapproachable. Mr. Fry was so affable. Fine. So these are the context clues I'm giving. If you want, or you can take a picture of these tools. The third one, the middle one, it is something which, if you know English, how English has been originated as a language, English has many words which are taken from Greek, which are taken from Latin. Okay, so they have their root words. So suppose I have a word called spect. That means look at or seeing. Now, many words associated with spect. So if you can see in the chart, it's prospect, inspect, retrospect, expect, aspect, circumspect. So now the words will start making sense for the child. So talk about the root words. So it's like erupt, so it's like broken off. So it could be abrupt, bankrupt, corrupt, disrupt. So there are many words which are associated with the root words. English also have words from other origins. So we have French origin, we have Spanish origin words. So we have different origin words. Many words are also taken from Germanic. So it's Deutsch language, which from where the words has been taken. We'll take an example of it later. I'll try to rush through because time is running out. These are another tools. You can have a word web associated. There are many, digital word web creator. You can give your senior children, if you're teaching grade 5, 6, 7, and 8, you can give this word web tool, online tool, digital tool to them. So there are many digital tool creators. Then you can have a bingo. Bingo is usually for assessment. Now they have understood the word. You can create a bingo and then you can either give the word or the meaning and they have to cut it down. So primarily through play, we are trying to teach them vocabulary. Then these are again, pick a word. You can have these ice cream sticks and you can have a question. They might have small slips with the word and they can pick the correct word. So these are some of the games. This is a word web. We have a digital word web as well. Okay, so I'll move on to spellings. For spellings, as you know, sometimes we say English is so confusing. Sometimes, a same letter, it is, for example, if I take this letter, let me just write. Combination of C and H, which is known as digraph. Now, if I talk about the basic English sound, it is ch. So we have chug, chores, fine, chimney. But if a word is having CH and it's of French origin, it'll sound as sh. So that'll be chef, chivalry. If it is from Greek origin, it'll talk about k. Say chemistry, chemist. So the same letter, combination of letters make different sounds. So we have to understand the origins of the word. Alphabetic principles, yes, we have understood what are the basic sounds and what is the phoneme, what is a grapheme, what sounds do they make. Then the origin also matter. The pattern also matter. If you remember in the LKG book which we were seeing, the teacher was talking about the pattern. So we need to talk about the pattern, whether it is CVVC pattern or a CVC pattern or VCV pattern. So there could be different words. We need to make them understand about the patterns. And then the meaning or the morphological, the base words, the root words. So there are certain prefixes or suffixes or the root words which we need to make them aware for a child to be proficient in spelling. They just don't have to cram the spelling. They need to understand these components, these 4 components as well to be proficient in spellings. I hope I'm making sense. Any question till now, apart from certificates? Please, if you have any question, do let me know. Apart from the certificates, yes. Okay. Thank you, Saroj ma'am. Let's move forward quickly. I don't want to take much of your time, but I want to cover everything. So we'll talk about some spelling rules. I wanted to talk about some spelling rules, but I'll just give you an example of C and K sound. There are many spelling rules. Let me just write. So when I say C and K makes the same sound, K. How would you know whether to use C or whether to use K? So K is friendly with few vowels and C is friendly with few other vowels. A is a friend of C. Then what else? O is a friend of C. U is a friend of C. And I and E are friends of K. So whenever I say kit, so it's k, it. So that'll be K. Whenever I say cup, this is a sound, so it'll be C. So the children should be aware of not only phonics, but the spelling rules as well. And this is a knowledge which it cannot be given in 1 year. So they need to have a spelling kind of a curriculum or a progression from grade 1 till grade 5. So these are one of the spelling rules. There are many spelling rules which we have. Let me quickly run this. I have told that there are some root words. Say cred. Cred is a Latin word which means to believe. So we have credence, credential, credibility, credit, credo, credulous, creed, incredible. So once I know the root word, I can make sense of the word. What does it mean? Again, this we have talked about academic. How this is for the syllabification, how to speak the word and how to correctly understand. Why this is important? Suppose I'm giving dictation. So I'm talking about a dessert. So dessert is this dessert and dessert is or D. So this should be clear to my child how to speak and then how to write. Again, these are two words. How do you pronounce Tom? T-O-M-B? It's pronounced tomb. It's not Tom, it's tomb. And comb, same O-M, it's pronounced as O. So comb, and it's tomb. So same letter of word, same grapheme, but different phoneme. So that also, if you teach origin, the children will be able to understand. Not for every word you have to teach the origin, but then for the words where, which are making some exceptions. So tomb is originated from a Greek word, which is like tumbos, and the Latin version is tumba. Then there was a French version, and finally there's an English version to it. We'll quickly dive into reading comprehension. As we have already spoken about, reading comprehension is making sense of printed words. So now I can decode, I can make sense of the words. My vocabulary is good enough. I understand all the vocabulary words which are there in my story or the piece of writing which I'm going to read. What next? How will I make sense of the piece of writing I'm reading? So these are some of the tools, but you are not limited to these tools. There are many other tools related to reading comprehension. How do we read as of now in our schools? How do we read? Just read the text, you explain. Are there any inferences that the child is drawing? Is he able to understand anything out of it? And have you assessed that inference that the child has made? Is the child having any question? Is he curious about something? Romy, are you there? I cannot share my screen, dear.
Yeah, let me just do it. I think there is some network problem.
Okay, great.
Please try now.
Okay. Is my screen visible? Oh, let me share it again.
Yes, it was visible. It was.
Okay, fine. So, there could be prediction, what's going to happen next. There could be a concept map associated with it. Now, what are the questions that you were having? You might not agree with the author, whatever the author is saying in the story or in the piece of writing. So, you might have questions for the author. Then this jigsaw is very, very important when you are teaching creative writing. So, this is a precursor to creative writing. So what you can do is you can take 3-4 stories. Usually a story is in the 3 parts. There's some introduction, then there's a situation which is building, and finally a conclusion. So you can tear that apart, give it in a group, and ask them to match. So there might be 2, 3 stories. This must be good for grade 2 onwards. This you can do so that they understand how a story is being built. So there's a story mapping where a child understand about the characters of the story, what is the settings of the story, what is the plot of the story, what was the problem the main character, the protagonist faced, and who's the antagonist and how the protagonist solved the problem. So all these skills need to be built. I wanted to do an activity, but I'll do it with this one. I hope I have given. This is some of the tools for reading. Okay, so this is one story we all are familiar with, isn't it? So what are the 2 characters you can see? Quickly, I'll take another 5 minutes. What are the 2 characters which you can see? Hare and tortoise. Great. Who do you think is happy here? Who do you think is happy? As a reader of the story, I want to ask why the author has only taken hare and tortoise. Why the author has not used any other animal. He can have used any other animal instead of turtle. Why the author has taken turtle? Okay, so something which is happening. What was the problem in this story? What was the problem? There was a competition between 2 animals whose speed doesn't match. Do you think it is right? So apart from telling the story, just reading the story, you have to dissect the story, talk about characters, what could have rabbit do later? What do you think would have been the extension of the story? So there are many activities by which a child will be able to understand what is happening in the story. My purpose of teaching stories is not that they have to just write a few answers based on that story. They have to use the story for their reference. They could be able to use the knowledge which they are gaining in the story somewhere else in their real life. And I think that's what we see the purpose. They should be able to apply the things that they are learning from these stories in decision making. So whenever, if you want, you can research, you can take a clip of this, or you can check it on YouTube, because this will be streamed on YouTube. So these are some of the things. This whole itself is a very big topic. How will you build inferences? How can you make inquiry charts? What is prediction? How you can use the prediction? And there are 3 levels: before reading, during reading, and after the reading. So all these can be used some way or the other, like before reading, then while you are reading, and after the reading. So these tools along with 3 steps. So all this into 3, it becomes all this into 3. So you can check on. So we have done this. So I'll quickly talk about another model. Now SVR model is clear. I hope SVR model is clear. Simple view of reading, which talks about decoding and the language comprehension leading to reading comprehension. Then there's a new model which was proposed, and this is based on SVR model, which is known as Carbog's reading rope. So here, slowly and gradually, we'll becoming more strategic and more automatic to become a skilled reader. Again, the same thing, word recognition. So we have phonological awareness, decoding and sight words. Then language comprehension, which includes background knowledge, vocabulary, language structure, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge, separate concepts and genres. So you can introduce the child to genre. So it's a folk tale, or it's a humor, or it's a science fiction, it's a non-fiction, it's an autobiography. So introduce the child to genre. I have not specifically taken an example of figurative speech because till grade 2, we usually don't talk about figurative speech. So, but you can introduce as they move forward, you can introduce the figurative speech as well. So now all these strands are woven together and get into a skilled reading child. So fluent execution and coordination of word recognition and text comprehension. This Scarbog's reading rope was given by Dr. Scarbog's only, and this is more or less based on simple view of reading. Then we have another model which is known as active view of reading. So basically, it's like active engagement. So we are talking about engagement. Like I told you, there are the tools for reading comprehension. We can use it at 3 levels: before the reading, during the reading, and after the reading. So there's an active engagement of the child. So child is not either passively reading or passively listening to the story. So that is known as active view of reading. That's all from my side. These were the 3 models we talked about. Any questions that you have? I want all of those who were active. Can you please share your takeaway for today? What step you're going to take next? I just want quickly. Another 2-3 minutes. Thank you, Sarita. Thank you so much for your appreciation. Thank you, Rena. Adapt the change. Very nice, Harman. Thanks for all the appreciation I'm getting. I just want a takeaway from your side. We'll be dealing with vocab before starting the unit. Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. In case you have any question further, you can get in touch with me on info.teacherconnect2023@gmail.com. In case you have any question, you can write a mail to me there, how to implement or you're facing any challenge. Romy, just give me a minute. That's all. I end the program with the quote, nurture hearts, foster empathy, and empower minds to create a more compassionate and connected world. Thank you so much to all of you. I'll make Romy. Just a minute. Yeah, Romy. You're a co-host now.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all for your active participation in final session of Learnovation 2.0, exploring the intricacies of foundation literacy with Shweta ma'am was wonderful. Your engagement has been invaluable to us. Special thanks to Shweta ma'am for her enlightening session as we bid farewell to Learnovation 2.0. Stay tuned for our upcoming webinars. Certificates for today's session will be shared to you by tomorrow, and the links will also be shared. Thank you once again, and we look forward to your continued